Imagine waking up one morning to find yourself crowned as the king of a nation. No warning, no training, just the weight of the crown and the eyes of millions looking to you for leadership. What would you do? Honestly, I'd probably soil myself, then immediately Google how to rule a country for dummies, because let's be honest, ruling is hard. It's not all swanning about in velvet robes and having someone peel your grapes for you. But today, let's explore what a ruler could achieve by following the timeless and controversial lessons of Niccolò Machiavelli, the political philosopher whose ideas shaped rulers for centuries. All right, so you've swapped your pajamas for ermine robes, traded your morning coffee for a scepter. Congratulations, you're now the monarch. But don't get too comfortable just yet. Now what? Well, according to Machiavelli, you've got to hit the ground running. The first few days are crucial, the first days are critical. This is when you set the tone for your reign. Think of it like this: you're a new babysitter, and the kid you're watching just discovered they have a whole lot of power. They're testing boundaries, and you need to establish yours. You either establish dominance early on, or you're going to be picking Lego out of your hair for the rest of your natural-born days. And trust me, that's not a good look for a king. Power is fragile, and rivals lurk everywhere, just waiting for you to trip up. They're like sharks smelling blood in the water. First things first, we're gathering intel. Knowledge is power, after all. Machiavelli believed in decisive action, swiftly eliminating threats to solidify control. No room for hesitation. We need to know who's who in this kingdom, who holds the real power behind the scenes, who are the military leaders, the noble families, the ones who can make or break your rule, the influencers of the time. And no, I'm not talking about that guy on TikTok who eats bugs. These are the people who can sway public opinion. We're talking merchants, artisans, anyone with sway. Their support can be invaluable because anyone who poses a threat must either be neutralized or, even better, brought to my side. Next up, the muscle. You need a strong, loyal force to back you up. A ruler is only as strong as their army. Without a reliable military, your reign is on shaky ground. Machiavelli warned against relying on mercenaries, and frankly, can you blame him? They're in it for the money, not loyalty. They're like the internet of armies. You're never quite sure what you're going to get. One day they're with you, the next they're gone. Building a professional, loyal force would be my top priority. This means investing in their training and well-being. We're talking top-notch training, shiny new armor, and maybe even a dental plan. Happy soldiers are loyal soldiers, because loyalty bought with good dental is loyalty that lasts. And you want your soldiers to stick around. And finally, the most important weapon of all: public relations. How you're perceived can make or break your rule. As king, I'd ensure that my message was the loudest and most consistent. Clear communication can prevent misunderstandings and build trust. Now, here's where Machiavelli gets a bad rap. People often misunderstand his teachings, thinking he was all about ruthless power grabs and deceit. His most infamous advice is that it's better to be feared than loved if you can't be both. This has been interpreted as a call for tyranny, but there's more nuance to it, which, let's be honest, sounds like the tagline for a particularly grim dating app. But Machiavelli wasn't advocating for fear as a standalone strategy, but the real genius lies in finding balance. He believed that a ruler should be both loved and feared, but if forced to choose, fear was the safer bet. You can't just rule with an iron fist. Eventually, those iron-fisted peasants are going to get sick of you and invest in some blacksmithing lessons, and when they do, you'll have a full-blown rebellion on your hands. To inspire genuine loyalty, you've got to give the people what they want. This means understanding their needs and addressing their concerns. Step 1. Immediate improvements to the lives of my subjects. This could be anything from better infrastructure to more equitable laws. We're talking reducing taxes. Everyone loves a good tax break. Lowering taxes can boost morale and increase public support. Addressing food shortages, because nobody likes ruling over a hangry populace. Ensuring food security is crucial for maintaining stability. And visibly engaging with communities. Being present and approachable can make a huge difference in how you're perceived. Think royal walkabouts. But instead of shaking hands and kissing babies, I'm sampling local delicacies and challenging blacksmiths to arm wrestling contests. It's all about building rapport. Next up, public works projects. These are investments in the community that show you care about their well-being. Remember those taxes we reduced? Well, we're going to make the people feel good about their sacrifice by building things they can actually use. Roads, schools, maybe even a giant water park. These projects can improve daily life and foster a sense of pride. But, and this is crucial, we need to couple all this generosity with a healthy dose of "don't mess with me." A ruler must still maintain authority and command respect. The occasional public display of justice will suffice. This shows that while you are benevolent, you are also not to be trifled with. Balance is key. In a Machiavellian world, perception is reality. Think of it like this: you wouldn't show up to a first date in your sweatpants, would you? No, you'd put on your finest doublet and hose, maybe even a spritz of that fancy perfume you save for special occasions. You'd be selling a narrative, the narrative of you, the desirable date. A ruler must craft a narrative that defines their reign. My story would be one of redemption, restoring the kingdom after years of corruption and division. Think of it like a political rom-com montage, crumbling infrastructure magically rebuilt, corrupt officials replaced with honest, hard-working folks, and me at the center of it all, looking effortlessly regal while simultaneously solving complex equations on a giant chalkboard. Public ceremonies would celebrate unity. Statues and monuments would reinforce my image as the savior of the nation, and every speech would highlight one key message: the future is brighter under my rule. A divided nation is a vulnerable nation, so I'd focus on a common identity that transcends regional, ethnic, or class divides. Okay, so we've secured our power, mastered the art of public relations, and now it's time to roll up our sleeves and get to the real work reforming the nation. This isn't just about maintaining the status quo, it's about making meaningful changes that will stand the test of time, because let's be honest, inheriting a kingdom is a bit like inheriting your grandparents' attic. It's full of potential, but also a lot of dusty, cobweb-ridden junk. You have to sift through the clutter to find the hidden gems and decide what needs to be kept, what needs to be fixed, and what needs to be thrown out. Machiavelli believed in gradual strategic reforms to avoid overwhelming the people. He knew that sudden changes could lead to unrest and resistance, so he advocated for a more measured approach. You can't just walk in and start flipping furniture and tearing down walls without expecting some pushback. People are naturally resistant to change, especially when it disrupts their daily lives. We need to be subtle, like a Machiavellian interior designer. Think of it as rearranging the furniture in a way that makes the room more functional and aesthetically pleasing without causing too much upheaval. My first steps would address the kingdom's most pressing issues: economic recovery. A strong economy is the backbone of any successful kingdom. We're talking investing in infrastructure, trade and agriculture to create jobs and wealth, building roads and bridges, supporting local farmers and encouraging artisans to produce high-quality goods. Think of it as giving the kingdom's economy a jump-start, a little jolt to the system to get things moving. Next up, education. A well-educated populace is crucial for the long-term stability and prosperity of the kingdom. We're not just talking about teaching kids how to read and write. Here, though that is important, we're also talking about instilling values and skills that will help them become productive members of society. We're talking about reforming schools to prioritize critical thinking and loyalty to the kingdom. This means updating curriculums, training teachers, and ensuring that education is accessible to all. We need to nurture young minds, mold them into productive, loyal citizens who will contribute to society and not, say, start a revolution because they saw a funny meme on the internet. Education is the foundation upon which we build our future. And finally, justice. A fair and just legal system is essential for maintaining order and trust within the kingdom. We're overhauling outdated legal systems to ensure fairness and accountability. This means revising old laws, implementing new ones, and making sure that justice is served impartially. Only then can we create a kingdom that is not only powerful but also just and fair for all its citizens. Chapter 5. Controlling the elites and the masses. A tale of two kingdoms. Ruling a kingdom isn't just about making sweeping pronouncements and looking regal on horseback. It's about managing expectations, playing factions against each other, and generally being 2 steps ahead of everyone else. Think of it like a giant game of chess, only the pieces are real people and the stakes are incredibly high. Machiavelli understood the delicate dance between the elites and the common people. The nobles want power, the masses want security. It's like trying to herd cats and sheep at the same time. They both want different things and they're both prone to bolting at the slightest provocation. To manage the elites, I'd offer incentives, land titles, influence, the usual bribes. And this is crucial. We need to ensure no one becomes too powerful. We want to keep them fat and happy, but not so fat and happy that they get any ideas about overthrowing the crown. Divide and rule would be the strategy, keeping rival factions occupied with each other rather than plotting against me. Now, for the masses, we need to ensure stability and prosperity. Chapter 6. Preparing for external threats. Because moats and alligators can only get you so far. Congratulations, your kingdom is thriving. The economy is booming, the people are content, and you haven't been assassinated yet. But before you get too comfortable, there's one more thing we need to address, those pesky external threats. Because ruling over a prosperous kingdom is a bit like owning a shiny new carriage. It's only a matter of time before someone tries to steal it. Machiavelli emphasized the importance of a strong military and shrewd diplomacy. Because while diplomacy is great and all, sometimes you just need a really big stick. As king, I'd fortify the borders and modernize the army to deter invasions. I'm talking state-of-the-art defenses, highly trained soldiers, and maybe even a few strategically placed trebuchets. But it's not all about brute force. Remember that whole shrewd diplomacy thing? We're going to need it. We'll use diplomacy to forge strategic alliances, ensuring the kingdom's security and economic growth. But, and this is important, I'd be cautious not to rely too heavily on foreign powers. Machiavelli warned that dependency weakens a nation. Chapter 7. Leaving a legacy because even kings get old. So, you've ruled with an iron fist, tempered by a velvet glove, of course. You've secured your borders, and your kingdom is the envy of the known world. Congratulations, you're a Machiavellian superstar, but before you break out the celebratory mead, there's one last thing we need to address, your legacy, because let's be honest, immortality isn't really an option. No matter how many alchemists you bribe, power is fleeting, but a legacy endures. So how do we ensure that your name is etched into the annals of history, remembered for generations to come? First things first, we need to groom a capable successor. A strong heir is a safeguard against civil war, plus it's always good to have someone who can take over the reins when you're ready to retire to your country estate and spend your days playing chess with your pet falcon. But more than that, I'd focus on building institutions, laws, schools, and infrastructure that outlast my reign. In the end, ruling a nation is no simple task. It demands wisdom, strength, and sometimes cold pragmatism. Machiavelli's lessons may be harsh, but they remind us that leadership isn't about ideals, it's about results. So if you ever find yourself crowned a king, ask yourself this: do you have what it takes to lead like Machiavelli?